Hi everyone, I'm Angela Clark. A lot of people have got a lot of complaining that they feel right now because things are just really difficult, very, very hard, painful. In Texas, really going through a hard time with the weather and bursting pipes and all this sort of thing. And a lot of things to really have to complain about right now. But I want to just say to you, what this talk today is about is where we're going and the blessings that are coming our way. And that's what I want to talk about. But I need to talk to you about kind of what goes between here, right now, and then that time that's very fastly approaching us. I mean really, really fast. But right now, it's difficult, it's dark, it's painful, it's upsetting. Some of us are angry, we're frustrated, people are killing themselves. It's a really hard time, it's a dark, dark time. But that's not where we're going. And where we're going is going to be a time of incredible blessings. And I think they're very, very, very close. But right now, we're having to endure this because, never does the light just suddenly dawn until there's been a night. There's a darkness. And always that develops the beauty that we all need to have come forth from us. It's somehow the darkness is what brings the best of us out into the open. But the problem is where we're at right now. We're at the Red Sea. I've said this over and over again. We're at the Red Sea. So in the time of Pharaoh, all the Israelites, they've been let go from the slavery from Pharaoh. He said, go. He's mad at them. They go to the Red Sea. So what's happening here at the Red Sea is the people they're upset because they see that their enemies, meaning Pharaoh and all of his armies, have changed their minds. They're out after them. They're at the Red Sea, and their backs are against the sea. So God's going to part it. And we all know that story. God's going to part the Red Sea down the middle so that they can walk through the middle. And so Moses has got his arm up. The whole deal there was that he's got to keep his arm up, and they're praying, and he's keeping that staff up in the air, meaning our trust is in our God. And literally, if he put his arm down, they started. So the saying goes that we start to lose. You put your arm back up, and God keeps that water up, and everyone goes across. So he knew he had to keep his arm up, meaning that God will keep winning the victory. So Kim Clement, who's a prophet I talk about a lot, said that in that case, in this time that we're living in, and he specifically spoke of this time right now, the last president that we just, well, not Biden, but the one before, that president would be in office for another 4 years. So we have not seen that. A lot of people are very, thinking, what the heck, we were lied to. But, I do not see it that way at all. I see it that we're in a time of testing, that this is just not in the timeline that we were imagining that it was going to be. But Kim Clement said that when the praying was going on, which is the arm up in the air, or looking to God, we're praying, that it would be a time when the older men needed to step back, and that the younger ones would be the one who would go in and fight the battle. And the older men, would give that up to them, and that they would stay and hold the ground with the praying. So it's kind of like Moses with his arm in the air and praying and trusting, and so that we get across to the other side where we're wanting and God's wanting us to go. The blessings will come once we get across, but we've got to get across. And when we get across, here's a whole nother thing. So I guess I'll jump to the whole thing, but when they got across, they didn't have their beds. They didn't have the houses that they were used to. Everything was different. You couldn't have the normal foods. I mean, it just was very different. So they're free now, and, their enemies have been drowned because once they got across, as you know the story, the waters came down on the enemies who were just going after them because they changed their mind. They didn't want to let them go after all. But they were free. But what they weren't free of is, well, they were unfortunately uncomfortable because everything they were used to is now gone. And that's kind of what is going on here. It's the same thing. It's history repeating itself. And we do need to have the older men praying. And we do need to have the younger ones fighting the battle. And we need to uplift them in prayer. And so Kim Clement said when we stop praying, we start to not win the battle. So we're losing ground. It's taking longer. That's how I see it. It's taking longer. We got to keep up the praying, especially those of us who can't get in there and fight. What our job is to pray, pray, pray. Look to God, trust God, remind the younger ones to trust God, remind them where we're going, remind them the promises of God. And Kim Clement said 4 more years, and he said that we're going into a time of great blessing, much, much financial blessing. So, you might want to believe the stories you've heard about something about, 50 trillion plus monies that have been found. You know what? It's way more than that. I just thought about another spot where they showed that gold. But that, as was promised, that all that would be returned to the American people, as it should be. But let's just say that it doesn't. It doesn't matter. God still plans to bless us. Blessings always come on the other side of the dark night. So we're going into a time of blessing, whether we like it or we don't. The problem might be that we could slow it up a little bit because we're not willing to receive. And so here's the big fat problem that I want to bring up today. A lot of us have been taught by religion or our parents or however, wherever it's been that we've learned this through habit of our parents, I don't know, that have to do with a fear of money and not receiving the blessings of God, because we've been trained to believe that we're just pieces of crap and that we don't deserve any good and that we're not good enough. And that like the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that money is filthy lucre, like as if to believe that that money is the root of all evil. The Bible doesn't say the money is the root of all evil. It says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So loving money means that you love money as if it were God, like as if it's everything that matters to you, as if it's your whole goal in life and it's everything to you. And without it, you don't trust God, you don't trust anything. That's everything to you. That is the love of money, and it is wrong. But to have it blesses people. I am blessed to be a blessing. And when I'm blessed, I bless other people. When we're doing well in our business, we're providing a good service to people, then we're blessed for that, and other people are blessed because we're providing a good service. So we don't want to push away our good. So a lady, she gave a story about, I think she said she died. I think that was what happened to this lady, but either way, she had an experience where she was in heaven, and Jesus was showing her all these gifts that went sky high, as far as she could see and beyond what she could see. All packaged, ready to go, bows on them, the whole thing. And he tells her that these are the gifts that I have for you, but the sad part is you're not ready to receive them. And it made him sad. And it just hurt her because she realized, I need to really open to the Lord. I need to give myself fully to him because he's got so much for me that I don't know. But I stopped my own good. So it's important that we believe. So when we hear a prophet of God who says that we're going to be blessed, and the Bible says that after the dark night, that darkness, there comes God's light and God's blessings. God doesn't always leave us in the darkness. He always leads us eventually back to the light. That's where we're at right now. So we need to open back up to dreams that God has given us. Believe what might happen if suddenly all your debts were paid off, for example. What might that be like for you? What would you do with that situation where you had no more debts? You didn't have any more car payments. You had no more house payments. You had none of that. You're free. And just like those Israelites when they got across, they were free. But here's what's weird is, it's going to be a time of great change. Maybe even there's going to be a battle. So let me tell you a little bit further. The Israelites, after they wandered 40 years in the wilderness, which was a time that God was cleansing them of the old patterns, the old way of being, the old ways of believing, the false gods, the things God did not want in their lives that they had been prone to be influenced by because of the Egyptians. He got through all of that, and then it was time to go into the promised land, flowing with milk and honey, which means great blessings, right? So they sent some guys over there, discovered that there are giants in the land. But there were big grapes and big dates and big everything was big. And that was exciting, but the giants were not so exciting. So just to push ahead, when they went across the land, they were instructed to take possession of that land. So we're in a spot now where we're to take possession of the land. So the giants represent mountains of problems, the enemy who's against us that we see as a problem, and we don't have any idea how we're going to conquer these mountains, these demons, these whatever you consider to be the enemy. We don't know how we're going to do it, but God does, and he says, I will be with you, but I want you to go and conquer. I will be with you, and then you're going to settle the 12 tribes of Israel as you conquer these areas. So that's what they had to do. So it represented, God wanted to cleanse the land. He wanted that land to be, where they're not sacrificing children, for example, which is what they were doing, sacrificing their children, passing them through the fire to Molech, the god Molech, and Baal. That was another one they did that. They had a lot of bad practices, so they had to be cleansed of all of that. And so, so I just want to encourage you that we have to be willing for change, because when they got across there to that land, and the waters fell back over their enemies, they were no more. They didn't have their beds. They didn't have their houses. They had to learn a different way of functioning, being, and that's sometimes causes us to complain because we want to go back to the way things used to be, forgetting that we just got out of slavery. That we forget that part so quickly. We forget. I just want to go back, and they complained and they moaned and they groaned, but we must be willing to change. So I want to tell you a story about change. I got to a situation where I just realized that I was in a cult, and my husband had already left me, and I needed to make a break. And so I filed for divorce, and I remember when it was all said and done, and I did that, then I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? I mean, everything was now different for me. Everything. My children don't really want to have anything to do with me. I'm in a completely different life situation. Who I hang out with, everything changed suddenly, and I was so grateful. I was so grateful that now I was safe. That I felt good about it. I was making some good strides to get classes and read good books, things that were helping me. But everything was changed, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm never going to have another Thanksgiving at my home. I'm never going to have a family gathering at Christmas at my home. Oh my gosh, nothing's ever going to be the same again. And I was so sad. And I remember the Lord just gave me this, it was a strong thought that came in my heart and my mind. And it said this to me: no, it's not going to be the same. Nothing will ever be the same, but it's just only going to be different. Will you accept different? And I'm like, oh, yes, I will accept different. And I knew that was God. I knew it was. And I'm like, I will accept different. And so I did. And I had the best Thanksgiving, the best Christmas I'd had in a long, long time. It just was different. And I always had the most fantastic Christmases, but it was just different. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. But I had to accept the new and embrace the new instead of reminisce and wish that I was back there again. You guys, we got to put the past behind us. We don't want to go back. We're easily going to forget what we came from when we're in that place, but I assure you, when you're in that place, you don't want to forget where we actually came from. Yes, we had beds and whatever it was that was comfortable. We're used to that way of living and that way of being and that way of functioning with our families, but you guys, the truth is we can never go back, and we don't want it to either. It's not God's will. We've got to change, and we've got to be ready for that change, and we've got to be ready to receive the blessings God has for us. So I want to talk about another thing. You know, my husband is an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and I was an ex-Worldwide Church of God and another cult I was in. But in the Witnesses, they believe that money is like filthy lucre, and so that just means it's really bad. And so, you know, the Bible says, hopefully I didn't already talk about this. I did this video already. If I did, I'm so sorry. But money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money. Yeah, I think I already did talk about that. So we want to accept our good. Money does a lot of great things, so we don't want to look at money like that anymore. We want to let that thinking go. We want to be willing to change our mindset because we want to be a blessing, and we want to have abundance. Jesus said he came that we might have life and have it more abundantly, not in poverty. That's not his way of being, and that's not how Abraham lived. God did bless him. He blessed many people in the Bible. Job was mightily blessed. There were blessings. They had servants, and we don't have that. We've come to accept what we think is good, but actually in actuality, it's not God's best for us. It just seems, better than most maybe in comparison, but God's got mightier, great gifts for us, dreams. He gave us each one dreams. So we need to start dreaming again and seeing our good. If there's tons of gold that's coming our way, then we can do anything we want. And again, if our debts are paid, we don't have anything to worry about, what would you do? What would you want to do? What do you feel is, take that time to sit with yourself and ask God, Lord, what do you have for me to do? What is my purpose? Why am I here? Tell me what your dream is for me. What is the dream that you have given me that I'm just not aware of, I've forgotten or something? Help me to remember, Lord. What is my goal? What is your dream? What am I supposed to be doing? And then sit with it, and then try to figure out how that might come about, and see it a lot, much more than you see the negativity going in your life. So sometimes, when we want something, not sometimes, but when we want something, we've got to point, Lord, that's where I see that you're leading me. That is what that dream, I feel that's what you've given me. So Lord, I'm looking to you. I believe for that time. I see that time coming about. I thank you for bringing it about. I thank you for the money that you provide for it. I see it, Lord. I see it, and I want to see that in my life. I want to see that for my family. I want to see that for my world. And we keep visioning and seeing that, and that's like pointing the way. And what you see is what you get. It's a part of faith. It's what you believe, and what you believe is what you achieve. So they say it's what you bring about. It's just created by the thinking. Now, if we think negative all the time, we're going to get negative. All kinds of negative is going to be attracted to us like a magnet, and we're going to live the kind of life we don't necessarily really want to live. So, I just want to encourage us to live the kind of life that God has in mind for us to live, and to just take hold of it, take possession of the land, which means take possession of the good that God has for us. And that's what God wants for us. So I just want to encourage you in that way, to have that hope. Open your arms, be ready to receive, because we're going to a great and mighty time where we're going to be mightily blessed, very blessed. And God wants that for us, and we want that for ourselves. So I know things may seem weird and strange, but I want to encourage you to believe. Faith is the assured expectation of things hoped for and yet not yet beheld. So we have faith that it's going to be when we've not yet taken hold of it. We're not holding it yet. That's what we need to do. So anyway, I hope that encourages you. I hope that you can make this shift, because we are in a paradigm shift. We're moving into a different time, and we're about ready to be very blessed, but we've got to be prepared for that blessing and prepared for change. You guys, there may be losses. When the pioneers came over here to this country, they were determined to make it in this country, to come to America and to make it and settle their families. And they knew that there was risk. And sure enough, people died. They took that risk knowing that some of us may not survive. Soldiers, when they go out to serve us, they lose buddies. They lose their whole platoon sometimes. But they have to keep marching forward, and winning the battle, moving forward, knowing the end result has got to be this. And they go forward. We must move forward anyway, even when things are weird, even if people should die that we love. We've got to keep going forward and believing where our future lies and where we're going, no matter what happens, and keep a stiff upper lip and keep fighting the good fight until we see the beauty of the life that God had in store for us. And I'm telling you, it's not as far off as you think. But what we've got to do is hold the line, stand firm, don't look back. Like Lot's wife looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt, which means that she was preserved. She couldn't move forward. We've got to be willing to move forward no matter the cost, no matter the losses. We've got to be willing to do our part and fight the good fight. Each one of us doing our part, not letting everyone else do it. We each have responsibility. We each have responsibility to develop our relationship with God, to develop our own faith. We can't rely on other people for that. That's our personal responsibility. So I just wanted to bring that out and just ask you to consider it and to be hopeful and looking forward to the future and looking at it as a blessing, and that we're not going to a bad place, we're going to a good place. So anyway, so that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this talk, and I hope that you will take courage and just be ready to take possession of the land, because we're about ready to go across. We're going to cross the Red Sea, and our enemy's about ready to be taken out, destroyed, put in jail. I don't know what all, but we're not going to be living the way that we are, and it's going to be very, very different. That's what I'm sure about. So, all right, you guys, that's it. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.